Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
For those of you who have joined us at the Polynesian Village Resort Hotel, aloha, and welcome aboard the Walt Disney World local monorail system. During the trip, we request that everyone please remain seated and that there please be no eating, drinking, or smoking. Thank you. Our next stop is the Magic Kingdom.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. This is the DVC Roundtable for October 2021. We're going to make it to the end of the year, hopefully. Hopefully, we're all going to make it. Joining us on the show, Miss Rebecca Toon.
Wait a minute. Is this a Halloween prank? I thought this was the Nomad Lounger.
We will do a Nomad Lounge show at some point in the future. How's that?
Mannequin, please.
Also, Miss Emily Hansa Hicks.
Hey, Rebecca, I can kind of see you on the other side of the yurt here, and I'm sipping my snow leopard salvation. Yes, indeed. So, I mean, well, that's it is in my head, actually. Yeah, here I am, recording.
I didn't expect to hear the word yurt in the show today, but that's very nice. And since we're a full house, we're also joined by Mr. Joe Quattrochi.
Tim, what's going on, brother? How you doing? And happy Halloween to everybody out in Looper Nation.
Thank you very much, Joe. And, of course, rounding out the round table, because we have a full table today, Mr. Brad Coates.
So is that round comment about my weight? Or
it's about my head. It's my head.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all again.
No, Brad, it's because you're an all-around good guy.
Yeah, there you go.
You are well-rounded, full of DVC knowledge, and that's why you're on the DVC Roundtable.
Hey, that, brother.
You can stop.
Instead of some standard news, we have a question from a listener we're going to take care of. This is from listener Madilyn. She says, hey, Resort Loop crew. That's all of us, by the way. Big fan of the show, and she has a couple questions. This is, one, if I have a wait list, and that wait list goes through at least...
Less than,
sorry, thank you. Those are big words there, less than. 31 days out before my trip, and the wait list was for a different Walt Disney World resort than my original booking. Can I risk losing anything? Now, so for example, does this modification cancel my existing Riviera reservation and put any of those points in a holding account? Or does everything transfer as long as the points for the new reservation are at a different hotel, such as the Grand Floridian, are more or equal to the amount of points I had already invested in my stay at the Riviera?
This sounds like an SAT question.
I was going to say
multiple parts.
It's like an algebra problem.
But it's a simple answer, though. It's a simple answer.
First of all, I'm not going to have a lot to share on this because I do not actually own, I rent. So I am just one compliment Madilyn on her extreme ability of cramming 5 questions into one. That's amazing, and bonus points to you for doing that. And also, I appreciate you giving an example because I was pretty darn lost before I started doing that.
Always give us examples when you ask us questions.
We're experts.
So
I think this is... Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I've done the wait list several times, and basically what she's asking, it looks like, is she's asking, if I do a wait list, do I risk losing my original reservation? The only way you risk losing that original reservation is if the wait list goes through. Yes, if it goes through, they will then cancel the first one and activate the second one. And then your points will simply roll over to cover the new reservation. And if it needs more points, then it'll pull points. However, this is important because it's to the point of what she's worried about. If it takes less points for your resort that you had put on a wait list, those points would go into a holding account, from what I remember. Does that same to you, Joe or Emily?
Yeah. That sounds about right. And also, too, is when she goes and makes that reservation, she will have to select which contract to subtract those points from if it is more points for that newer reservation. So for example, if I had a Saratoga reservation, which is 10 points a night, say 5 nights, 50 points, and I want to try to get a wait list at, Boardwalk Villas, that's going to be much more, or I'm sorry, even like Beach Club Villas, I need to select which contract to take those points from, because it's obviously going to be more points. So she'll see that screen before she even submit on the wait list.
And if they don't have points in that other account to cover, it won't let them do the wait list, right, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know I've never had to borrow from I don't know if you could borrow from a further year to have a wait list go through. Emily, have you ever had to do that? Because I know you borrow a lot.
Yeah, I do. I'm in DVC debt all the time. Story of my life. No, I think that you can borrow. It prompts you when you put a wait list, because I almost always have 2 wait lists going on. You can, it asks you about borrowing. My understanding, now I heard this somewhere, again, this is like the Disney bus driver told me this, so don't count on this, but I heard that they will actually call you to confirm before you do the borrowing. I don't know that that's true though, because you do select it online. If you need more points, yes, do you want to borrow? Which contract do you want to borrow from? And then of course, when you set a wait list, if you're not a regular on this, you can select. They won't automatically cancel your other reservation unless you've selected to cancel the other one in lieu of this. So like if you get that one, it'll swap it out for the other one.
I was
if you
literally about to ask that question. If you had the choice, like, do you have to say, yes, I actually want that?
Right. And it is critical to make sure you're paying attention. Also, if you have a wait list that's going in between or closer than 30 days, because I have actually had it come where I got a wait list that came through and I never got a notice of it. So we got to the resort, we went to our normal reservation and discovered that we actually had an additional reservation for the exact same days because the wait list had come through. They never sent a confirmation email.
Oh.
And so they made the booking, they took the points. And so luckily, of course, DVC, I said, I never got an email. I double checked, I triple checked. And this was January 2020 when we were bringing several other families with us. So we had 4 rooms booked, ours and then 3 other families. And then we suddenly had extra nights that were like 2, I think it was like a 2 for like a 2-night cluster or something. But fortunately, I explained it to them and I said, I never got an email. I never heard anything about this. And they canceled off that reservation and they returned the points. So if it is Disney's mistake, they will correct it. But the thing is to pay attention, because what you wouldn't want to have happen is that you never notice that happens and you can never tell them, no, I never, I didn't show up because I never knew I had that reservation, So you'd like to catch that.
They've never been good at letting you know you get one. I mean, even if they do let you know, it's like there's no real, you just get an email and go, oh, wait a minute, that's a different resort. I got my waiting list.
Right.
Wait list. You don't say anything. It's there. So
also too, for Madilyn, it's one of those things that my opinion on it is if you put a wait list in, almost be sure you definitely want to do that, because if it is one of those things where you kind of forget about it, or if it comes through really fast, then the transaction's going to happen. So if you got a reservation at Saratoga and you want to go to Beach Club and you put that wait list in, make sure that if that comes through, you definitely want to do that, because don't be like, I'm not sure. If you're not sure, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of those kind of things.
And I didn't realize, Emily, that you could actually keep the old reservation. To me, if we're giving advice to people, my advice would be don't do that. Because what you're doing is you're using another set of points to book the second reservation. Now unless you have a lot of points and you can waste them, because if for some reason that wait list comes in too late in the process, if those points are too close and they're outside of the booking borrowing window, then they'll go into a holding account. Then you're forced to use that other set of points. Whereas if you tell it to roll it over, it just uses those points. So you don't lose anything. You just, you know what I mean? But
yeah, I do a lot of piecemealing when I do I have like wait lists where I'm basically looking out for nights at a time to add on together, and I just like modify and modify. So I actually, for example, my current reservations for our trip in, I forget, hopefully this one will happen, right before the New Year's. We were supposed to be in Disney last weekend, I think, and then we were supposed to be there like a month ago, and we had like patched together all these great plans. But so right now we're still trying to patch in some. I think we'd like to do something. We're at Boardwalk, but we'd like to patch in some Riviera or some Animal Kingdom at the beginning of the stay. And so I look for a couple nights at a time, or I look for one. So I'll actually have simultaneous reservations going on, where I'm trying to build basically the second reservation, and then as soon as I can, if I can build it before the 30-day mark, then I cut loose the Boardwalk bunch. And then I'll keep the part of Boardwalk I want to keep. But so yeah, you're right, Brad. That strategy only works when you have enough points to play with.
And you're doing it far enough out where if and they're still active, I've still got 10 minutes to use the points and everything. Yeah.
Right. And then just a heads up, I think I've talked about them before, but there's a site called Dvcapp.com, and I really should stop telling people about it, but it does have a subscription service. But basically, that thing will beat the wait list every time. They have occasional outages when Disney's changing their services, and so they can't pull the crawl, the everyday feed, but they don't charge you for those periods of time. But you can find those nights before they hit the wait lists, because they'll just send you a text message or an email, however you set it up, and say, the night you were looking for came available. And I don't know why, but I've often seen it there on Dvcapp for up to 2 days before ever hearing, like I'll have a wait list for that exact time, those dates in that exact resort, and it will not come through. And I'll see it on Dvcapp, like several times. And so I don't know if other people are just sniping them quickly, or if I think the wait lists I've heard are manually operated. So if they are manually serviced, then it makes sense that those are only going to be happening really between business hours, and they're going to travel with the speed of a cast member versus like a algorithm.
That's a great tip.
That's wild. Okay, but the real question is, would you switch from the Riviera to the Grand Floridian? Yeah, curious. Now I just want to know. I mean, I know Emily's answer because, Emily, but I'm just.
I will say, Emily, the next time you stay at the Grand, I love that walkway. It's fantastic. The walkway from Magic Kingdom. It's a lot longer than the one to Contemporary and Bay Lake Tower, obviously, but it's very nice. It's very well lit. The theming changes. There is security that walks along that pathway as well. So
that's great.
If you're feeling a little like uneasy, I mean it's safe, but it's like there is security out there as well. It's fantastic, and it takes about, I think we walked, Jen and I and our friends Brittany and Justin, to me remember them. We walked from Space Mountain to Grand Floridian Cafe, I think in like 15 minutes.
15? You were running?
No, we were just walking. We made it. We walked very quickly, whatever. But we made it. Wasn't that bad at all. So it's great.
Joe, haven't you stayed at Riviera as well, though?
No, my family has. My brother and my sister-in-law have stayed there. I visited there, but haven't had a chance to stay there yet. But it looks like it's starting to grow a little bit of a cult following with it. No, I say cult. It's probably a bad word for it. It's growing a lot more popularity. I just think its biggest black eye. The little fan club with the biggest black eye is honestly just the contracts and to not be able. That's the biggest cloud hanging over it. If not, it'd be really high up there. I mean, it's really killing that resort with like being almost like a perfect resort. I mean, a lot of people seem to like it. It seems very popular.
It is so nice. Like we live. Go ahead, Brad.
I'm sorry. Was there Rebecca?
I was just asking if Brad had stayed there.
Oh, I'm sorry. At Riviera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I went out on one of my trips, I get to go on when my wife has to stay home and work and earn money, so we can go on trips without. So I actually stayed in one of those the studios. Test one of those
That's
out.
right.
Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed it actually, and I really like the resort. I'm not sure I would buy there, not just because of the contract, only because it's just not my style. But I definitely because I hop almost every trip I take, I stay at more than one resort. It's almost never staying unless it's a really short trip. I'll be staying in two places. So I love to go over there and check it out. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Is it?
We loved it, Rebecca. We stayed there and with the kids the last time literally that we went to Disney for half the trip, and it was just gorgeous. It was so relaxing. The atmosphere is amazing.
I love theming. Split trips because we're going to be able to answer these other questions really well.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
We are going to have all the answers for Madilyn.
Oh,
That's right.
All right, Maddie. Let's move on to question number 2 for Maddie. She goes, how long does it typically take for the luggage to get from one resort to another on a split stay? Oh, well, we have a raised hand. It's Joe Quashrochi.
If I could raise my hand here,
yes.
A very good friend of the show here, Florence Henke Porter. Florence is awesome. Shout out to Florence. I'm going to tell her I mentioned her on this show. The only reason why is she just recently did a split stay from Boulder, Copper Creek to Animal Kingdom Lodge. It took her all day to get her luggage.
Wow. I think you probably have to allow for that. And if it's
all day, what is that all?
I would probably say like at 9 a.m. pickup of the luggage to probably about 4:30. Yeah, 5 o'clock. So it's just
the boardwalk, and we gave it to him at 9 o'clock. We had it at 6 p.m.
So I mean, I would honestly say, like, if you're gonna have Disney move it for you, pack a small bag. If you have a car, take it yourself, unless you've got like ADRs or you've got a rope drop or something where you have to be somewhere. But or if not, just throw it in the car the night before. But like, it takes them all day to do it. And like, remember, they're not still 100% staffed, even though we think it's like the 50th anniversary and everything's open. They're still not like all up and running 100%, and things are just taking a lot longer to be moved around and stuff. But yeah, it took Florence all day. Me and Jem were hanging out with her, waiting for her to get her stuff. We were supposed to go to the pool and hang out, and she didn't have like her swimsuit with her and stuff. And we ended up just like hanging out in the lobby and in the room, just kind of shooting a breeze. But that's why I want to raise my hand, because I'm like, this was maybe a few months ago. So this is not like it was like pre-pandemic or during. This was couple months ago. So yeah, I would suggest if you can move it yourself, do it. But if you're going to do it, look, there are stories, I'm sure, where it gets moved very quickly. But I mean, it seems like from this roundtable here, it's more of it's on the longer side than anything else. It's just like when you do your luggage back in the day with MDE or Disney's Magical Express. Sometimes it gets there really late. I mean, so it just all depends on how the buses are moving and who's handling your stuff. So
I tell people when they're switching luggage to pack the very same way they would when they're checking their luggage. Always carry your essentials with you when you check into the room, or have them hold that for you when you check into the room, or anything you might need for the day. Because and my 9 to 6 from from Beach Club to Boardwalk was not during the pandemic. It was a few years ago. So I don't know that the pandemic really has a bearing on it, although it could only stand to make it slower, I think. But I just tell people to not anticipate having it until that night.
Yeah, take your medications with you.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I do split stays basically every time. And I think I've rented a car once. I don't like to rent a car. I prefer to just get in the bubble. And so they transfer my luggage every time. And that's you guys are dead on every time I've had it done. I think the wisdom, Maddie, is if you're going to do it that way, think in terms of that day. You're going to take your luggage down. And it doesn't matter, you guys, whether you get it to them at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m. There's a time later in the day when they'll start transferring luggage. So it doesn't all of a sudden go quicker. They just wait until they have all the luggage and then they go out. I did find that out. So plan on one of two things. Number one, plan on that day you're going to spend the full day in a park. So put the bags out, take off, go to the park, have no intention to go back to your new resort till after you've had dinner, been in the parks, done what you're going to do, because sometimes I'll go to the park and then I'll go to Disney Springs and have dinner. Then I go home and my bags are always there.
And you don't have to be in your room to get your bags. Just I don't think anybody assumes that, but just to clarify, they will put your rooms in your bag if you're not there.
And the other thing that we did once or twice, can't remember if it was twice, we knew we were going to go back to the room. We wanted to do pools like you just mentioned. So on that day, what we did was we got up early. We put the bags downstairs, the full, and then we had a small backpack or a carry-on type bag. We rode the bus over to the resort, dropped off our bags, and then went to the park. But we got in the parks later that way. But that way our bags were there, and we just took them to guest services. But that way I don't have to carry all my bags trying to get on Disney transportation to get to my hotel.
Right.
Load up the Skyliner.
I did not even know that they transferred bags for DVC
Buckling
until
it
one day. Right. I brought luggage. I tried to get on a Disney bus with like a full-on suitcase, and they were like, "What are you doing? Like, you can have that done for you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I think though I was already like at a theme park. I think it was like Magic Kingdom. I was sitting there with a suitcase. But yeah, I was gonna say two things about what Brad said, because good insight there. First of all, usually the Bell Services people will tell you when the transfer is, so you can ask them, when do you think the bags will be? And they'll say, oh, we run them over at this time, or at this, like there may be 2 times or something, but they can usually give you some pretty accurate information. You have to assume that the DVC transfer bags are not going to be hitting there like the same time the Magical Express deliveries are going to get there.
Exactly.
As long as that lasts.
Because it's a whole different system. Yeah, it's a whole different system.
Exactly. And those are the paid guests for the most part, and things like that, like cash guests. And so the other part I was going to mention, like you said, Brad, we also will often say transfer most of it over, but then take one bag over, go to the resort, put that with Bell Services, and then when our room is there ready, then we go in, we call for that bag. The rest of them transfer over with whatever time, but that bag has whatever we might need for that day or evening, and we just leave it at Bell Services. So like it's like you pack up to leave your resort, but you have all your carry-on bags, and you're checking all your check-on bags. So it's like we take our carry-on bags to the new resort, leave them at Bell Services.
What do you do? This is actually a question that occurred to me, because DVC is different from a resort room in that it often has a kitchen. So what if you have groceries? Will they move those as well? What if you have perishables?
Yep, they transfer them.
Really? And will they keep them, like if they're cold
Even
items?
refrigerated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
They have them in refrigerated storage.
That's
Yep.
amazing. That's
Wonderful.
wonderful. Okay. I was just curious. It popped into my mind when we were talking about luggage. I'm like, I've never moved groceries, but I would imagine if I was taking advantage of DVC, that might be a thing that I would be like, hey, can you take my beer?
Right. We do that every time. Especially
You might be missing one or two, but
But no, we
Devil's cut.
we split stay groceries all the time. So yeah,
Really? Oh, that's really awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
So you don't have to split like what kind of groceries you're going to need for this stay versus what kind of groceries you might need for that stay.
right. They don't always, like, the frozen stuff doesn't always stay like solidly frozen. Things tend to be a little bit more like permafrost.
Yeah.
To you, but as long as you're not like super worried about that stuff, like
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever known.
That's awesome. All this kind of leads into our next question. Any tips for limiting the inconveniences or hardships, or making life easier when you have a split stay? So you got the right crew for this one, Maddie. They're going to help you out with this one.
Absolutely.
So I would say I'm going to start off here with know your schedule, right? So if you're literally splitting it 50-50, you have 4 days, just say 4 days at one resort, 4 days at another. Everybody wants to unpack and get comfortable, but like, don't get too comfortable in your first room because you're going to have to repack it all up again. So if possible, I'm a big fan of using packing cubes. I can't live without them now. So like, honestly, if you want to unpack your baggage, take your packing cubes out. You can like leave your clothes in the packing cubes, put them in the dresser. So when you're ready to go, you just zip up whatever's left, put it back in your bag, have a dirty packing cube for dirty clothes, makes the move a lot easier. Try to keep all of your stuff together in a room, your souvenirs, just try not to spread out too much. I mean, because I've done a few split stays and my wife gets very comfortable very quickly in rooms. I'm more of the neat freak. My wife kind of spreads her stuff out everywhere. And then I'm the one that has to go and like make sure we don't leave anything behind. So that's my suggestion is like, make it comfortable. You're in the room, but like don't have stuff everywhere because that's taking time away from your trip to repack it up either at the end of the night or early in the morning. And then God forbid you leave something behind, whatever. So you just try to limit your explosion of your bag when you unpack. I'm saying I use packing cubes. It makes things a lot easier. It keeps things contained in the same spot. And so you could take clothes in and out of it. And then when you're ready to go, pack it all up and you're good to go. So it makes things a lot easier. That's my suggestion.
Great.
So we used to, when we do like the cruise land sea thing, we have done the same kind of thing, but I essentially pack for 2 separate vacations. So I'll have one bag that's for like the second half of the trip. You know what I mean?
That's even a better. That's even a better idea. If you use packing cubes, you could pack for one half of the trip. If you see the weather, you know your ADRs are going to be your reservations for foods. If you want to get dressed up for dinner, or if you know it's like, hey, it's going to be hot these couple of days, we're going to be in the parks. That's a good thing. Just split up your clothes into 2 trips, and just do it that way. That's a great idea as well.
Yeah, we always travel basically. Well, we fly Southwest 90% of the time, so we have 2 bags, and so we usually have a big bag and then a smaller bag, and that's exactly what we do. And my wife's big into this. I don't know if it's a ladies thing. You gals can tell me if she's the only one. She's like in there going, on the shorts are going to go with this shirt and these shoes and these socks. And then I'm like,
Brad, I'm a guy and I do that.
I got a guy pairs of shoes in case one gets wet, and 4 pairs of socks that I turn inside out. No, I'm not that bad, But I have gotten to where what I do is I may pack it, not necessarily in the beginning to split it, but the first thing we do when we're there that first night, when we tend to not do anything, is open the bags, decide, okay, going to wear this tomorrow, going to wear this the next day, going to wear this the next day, put it all in the drawer, put everything else back in the bag except for the sundries that I got to use. And then try to keep everything in the big bag. Then I got the little bag to throw the dirty clothes in and the sundries and get done. And I'm usually packed up and ready to go in 5 minutes. So,
and I would definitely suggest, and I would definitely suggest, just say like you're transferring rooms on a Thursday, Wednesday night. Like, don't wait till Thursday morning to do it. Wednesday night, just when you get home, just do it and just with it, be ready to go in the morning. Lay out your clothes for the next day. Have everything packed, ready to go. So you get up, shower, boom, do what you got to do, and you leave. You're not like scrambling around. And that could lead to a crappy day where if you lost something, you can't find it. Who knows? Be stressing the whole time. Instead of enjoying that day. Yeah, it's stressful.
I am going to speak to the hardship versus the inconvenience because I made this mistake one time.
It's good once. That's good.
Going to split your stay. I would humbly suggest that you make sure you put the best resort, the nicest resort, on the end, not the beginning. We made the mistake of staying at Boardwalk in a beautiful room at Boardwalk. We couldn't get the last 3 days we wanted, so we booked at All Star Movies. It was our first time in a deluxe resort. And then we got back to All Star Movies and we were like, what kind of dumpster fire?
When did we go to Motel 6?
Like, I remember Andrew, and you all know me. I love All Star Movies.
Right.
But I remember Andrew walking out of the bathroom with a towel, holding a towel up, going, I can literally see through this.
Rebecca,
considered buying in, but I remember that. So try and keep your better stays on the end so that you're not like feeling the slump on the end.
It's not even the rooms. It's not even the rooms, Rebecca, either. It's the fact that like you went from like being able to walk to Epcot, walk to the studios, to taking a bus everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's on multiple fronts where
totally. When I'm a planning nut, So when I go to do my split stay, I'm going, okay, so which resort am I going to be at the first 2 days? Okay, so which are my first 2 parks I'm going to resort?
Yep.
Make it convenient. I'm going to make sure when I stay in my usual Animal Kingdom for a couple of days, I'm going to make sure that my Animal Kingdom day is that day because then it's great.
Mm-hmm. Or that your walk days or your yacht club or beach club days or your Epcot days.
Exactly.
And we made the newbie mistake of going from this beautiful boardwalk room to All-Star, and we were like, this was not a good choice on our part. So that would be
now with DVC resorts, you would hope that you're not going to get that level of difference. However, there's another thing to think about in a change, and that is room type.
That's what I was going to say. You might be going from a one room to a studio. You might be going from something that's on the monorail to something that's not. And I think don't sleep on Brad's tip to plan your parks according to your resorts.
Right.
That's awesome.
What we tend to do too is we tend to go, okay, we're going to save points because I don't have a ton of points, and so I want to stretch it. So we'll stay in the studio, but we make sure we do the 1 bedroom at the end, so we have a washer and dryer, and those in case we need to do it. So that's where we make our decision, not which one's better, but we decide, okay, which one am I going to do the studio in, we'll do that first. Which one are we going to do the nicer room in? We're going to do that last, the bigger room. And then I plan my park days around it.
But Brad, you're 100% right, man. Like, you'd be a fool to, like, if you got like beach club villas, right? You'd be a fool not to have your park days be the studios at Epcot, because why would you end up like taking a bus to Animal Kingdom or taking a bus to like Magic Kingdom? You know, because it's because
Skyliner's right there. It's like,
I mean, like, that's the whole purpose of staying there. So.
Or if you're gonna have a couple, like in the middle, you're gonna have a couple of resort day onlys, then make sure the resort day onlys are at the good resort.
Yeah, like beach club
too. Yeah, make sure that's a
beach club.
Rebecca, there's nothing wrong with pedals.
I once sat at the pedals bar wearing a garbage bag as a raincoat, drinking margaritas, and it is to this day one of my favorite memories.
I would say every time I see pedals, by the way, I always say, like, Rebecca, you explain it. You have such a fond memory of pedals.
I have a reputation to uphold.
Oh, we're all friends.
Pedals is a pool bar at a value resort. So
yes.
Oh, gotcha.
I have a reputation too.
Brad,
that's why I've never been to pedals.
Our reputations are very different. You need to have the keys to the car.
Yeah. But I'll be there in case you need me, Rebecca. Just text me. I'm there.
We can always count on you. You're an all-around good guy.
Was the story you were just wearing the garbage bag, and that's all?
Yeah. Well, it's not the story Joe's talking about, but yeah.
Oh.
So Brad
That's a
mentioned
cinch
something critical. So you mentioned something a little earlier that is the key piece for these split stays to make your life easier, especially if you have little kids. Because we've done this with little kids, and we really thought we were going to get our room and we were going to be able to do nap time and blah, blah, blah. No, it is like arriving the first day again, or maybe worse. I don't know. So what you have to do is you really have to plan to be outside of the room the whole day. So the most successful split stay transition we had was we actually went to SeaWorld that day. We took a Uber to SeaWorld, and we were off property the whole day. We weren't worried about, like, can we go back to our room now? We were maxing out that day. We didn't plan to be in a room or have any of those conveniences. We were off property. And when we got back, it was like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and our room was ready and our stuff was there, and it was just seamless. And we'd had a great day, even though it was off property. So if you are going to stay on property, I think that's kind of like where you can get tricked into thinking, okay, well, I just want to go back, especially if you're a DVCer and you're used to being able to go back to your room whenever you feel like it, or for lunch, or like, let me just go grab something. It really helps to just sort of like take that whole thing out of the equation and just really think of yourself as not having a hotel until 6 p.m. Even if you really do at like 4, like, just really don't count on that. Plan something completely occupying for the whole day. Pack your beach bag or whatever. Go to the pool for the whole resort day and pretend like you're not even going to another resort. Don't sit there thinking you're going to have your room any minute now, because that will be frustrating.
Good point.
Good tip.
You just reminded me of one that we did one time. What we did was we actually packed a small pool type bag.
Mm-hmm.
We left it at the hotel we were leaving.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, we on purpose.
Oh,
services. Yes.
And then later in the day, when we wanted to do our pool time, instead of going that way, we didn't have to go to the other resort, drop off our bag. We actually just went back to that resort, got our pool bag, went out, went swimming, enjoyed. Because you're technically still registered into the resort, and so that way we didn't have to worry about it. Then had them hold it, and then when we were done, we took it and went to the other resort or whatever.
Oh, if you were somewhere like the beach club, that'd be fantastic. That's a great tip.
Mm-hmm. Get another day in there.
Slipping.
I love it. All right.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip. That's 2 for you, Brad. That's
Man.
2.
On fire.
I got kidneys. On my brain.
I feel like it's almost like you've done this before.
Right?
Yeah. You think about a topic I know.
Brad's got some skills.
That's right.
All right. Before we wrap this show.
Does anybody have like a nightmare transition story? Because I love that story. So.
Yeah, thinking my kids were going to be able to take a nap somehow. When we transition. Yeah, like, you basically are like any other park guest at that point, where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm here for the day. You feel like a day guest.
That Tom Hanks movie where he can't fly home and he's stuck in the He's stuck in the airport.
Yes.
The terminal.
We were literally in the Contemporary lobby, like hoping the kids would fall asleep in a stroller. It was like, oh my gosh. And of course, like we had 3 kids. Gosh, that was really early. So they were really young. They needed that stinking nap that they didn't take. They needed it, and I needed it.
And you needed it,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway,
Yeah, who needed it more? Got a big
like I
one.
remember that day so vividly. It was like a scar you for life experience. Do you know what I mean? Like that's where.
I think I've got kids. I know that story.
Right, you know.
I remember those days where you're like, no, you don't understand.
You need to sleep before I No, never. Anyway.
I have like not a nightmare story, but I have like an unfortunate story that turned out with like some Disney magic.
Okay.
We were transitioning from one resort to another, and we always check one bag where we always bring a bottle of tequila and a bottle of vodka so we can have some drinks in our room. And so, of course, halfway through our stay, I know some of you may not believe this, but we had not finished all the alcohol yet.
No.
So
I wasn't on that trip.
we were going to move it to the hotel. So we were, at the time we were staying at the beach, we were moving over to the beach club, and we checked into the beach club. We had dinner that night. Our bags arrived while we were down at the pool. So we had gone up, we came into the room, and it smelled so strongly of alcohol that I was like,
oh no,
something's not right. In the transition, the bottle of vodka had shattered.
Ooh.
And so I unzipped my suitcase, and there's this shattered bottle of vodka. And as I open my suitcase, of course, some of the glass falls out, and I'm like, oh, this was... And so we're trying to get down to dinner. So we're headed to Cape May. So we kind of just like, leave it. We'll come back to it. We change. We run down. I stop at the desk, the front desk, and say, is it possible to have our room vacuumed? And she goes, oh my goodness, were things not to your liking? Were they not clean? I said, no, everything was perfect. I said, but in the process of bringing our luggage over, our bottle of vodka was broken, and there's glass on the floor, and I just don't want my kids to step on it. And she said, don't worry. She's like, are you out of the room? And I said, yeah, we're going to dinner. She said, we'll have it fixed before dinner's over. We went back up to our room around 10 o'clock that night. They had come in, vacuumed and cleaned the room again, taken all of the wet laundry to be dry cleaned, and on the counter was a brand new bottle of Tito's vodka.
Get out.
Wow. That's Disney magic for
Man.
you.
That was it's one of those things that you hesitate to tell people now because you don't want anyone to expect that.
Right.
But that
Disney
was
bought
back
me
in
booze.
the day when the Disney magic was just flowing like confetti. And I went and found the same agent that I had spoken to, the same cast member that I had spoken to, and I'm like, you did it. That is not what I anticipated. And she said, well, we're so sorry that you didn't have a successful experience moving your luggage. So it's something that could have been really messy that turned out like they brought our clothes back the next day.
Wow.
It was a really interesting and reminder of how good Disney can be.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
You know, and props to Disney, that same hellish transition to Contemporary. That one day, I just want to point out that my son was like 5 months old at the time. I think it was his first trip. He got a cold or had a cold or something. He was congested, and we had ordered a reclined rock and play, which are not advised, by the way, for your baby to sleep in all the time. But our doctor had said if you can have him sleep in like sort of a slightly inclined position, it should help with his drainage. He'll be able to breathe better, whatever. So we had ordered this thing to be delivered to Disney. Somehow Amazon had canceled the order or switched the date, so it was delayed by 4 days. So it was not there when we arrived like we had planned. So Disney, when I went down to concierge to ask about it and say like, and then I realized, oh my gosh, they delayed the delivery by 3 days, and I never got an email or anything. It's just here in the Amazon account that it's delayed. Disney sent somebody that night to Target to buy me they got exactly, or Walmart or something. They sent somebody. They like looked for exactly what I was looking for. I have no idea how they even knew because I didn't give them a description. But like the concierge knew exactly what I was looking for and had one in our room that night. because she saw how like distressed I was about, you know, my sick baby and whatever. And all I can tell you is like, that's the magic, right? That's why, that's why you
buy DVC. That's why you keep
Right.
going back. Yeah.
feel safe going there. Like something could go wrong, but it'll be okay because people are going to help you out.
Well, that's the thing. You transition from room to room. There is like something will go wrong.
Yeah.
Let's relax.
So,
Right.
so I'm going to slip one in.
Here it comes.
Since you got to talk about it.
Do
Here it
it.
comes. Trying to remember, Tim, if you and I actually did the show on my trip when I was out. We did one about my trip when my wife decided to test out the local hospitals.
Yeah, yes, I think we did talk about that. Yes.
Oh, right.
So my wife had to be rushed to the hospital and then admitted and had to have major surgery a couple days later. But that night at 1 a.m. when I took her to the hospital and spent the entire night that night, that was the day we were transferring from one hotel to another. My daughters, who are adults, but you know, Dad's the guy that does this stuff. They just come along for the ride. It's like, guys, I can't help you with all of it. So I actually had left the hospital, come back to the hotel, got everything done, got it to where it needs to get transferred, told the girls, go to the parks, enjoy, just go to Animal Kingdom when you're done. We'll see you there in the afternoon. I went back to the hospital. So about 4 o'clock, I headed over to Animal Kingdom because the girls were saying, Dad, can we see if the rooms are available? I said, all right. So I get there, rooms aren't available. And get talking to him, and that's when, okay, by the way, you booked club level, but club level's not working. So we give you the same room, but we'll give you your points back. But the points we're giving you back will go into a holding account, which you have to use within the next 2 months. I started losing. I just started losing. I'm like, I am so tired, stressed. We don't know what's going on. We still don't have an answer what's going on with her. And they're telling me this stuff. And I'm like, really and truly, you guys got to come up with a better way to do this. This is ridiculous. You knew the minute I reserved it that you weren't going to be doing this, but you don't even say a word. You didn't call us a week before, say it wasn't going to happen. You let us show up and wanted to give me back points that I couldn't use. And the gal I was talking to, she said, well, let me get my manager. Shout out to Ann, a.k.a. Animal Kingdom Lodge Jumbo, one of the managers. She came out, started talking with me, moving as quickly as I can. So she got it worked out. She said, I can get you into one of the one room now. You can get in there. Then a couple minutes later, she came out. She said, I'm working on your, because we had 2 rooms. I'm working on your adult daughter and her husband's separate room. We had booked them a special room for their anniversary. She comes walking out. She giggled, not like big smile giggle, but more like nervous, like, She says, I'm sorry. I tend to laugh when I'm very nervous, but I'm scared to tell you what I'm about to tell you. She said, the room type that you have purchased for your kids is not available.
Oh my!
And I'm being honest, it probably will not be available for the rest of today for sure, and maybe not tomorrow.
And you're like,
burned down?
I just started crying. I mean, I was angry and I was crying, and I'm just like, I was numb.
Right.
you're like, I had a reservation.
But we could put them in Kidani. So we were in Jumbo, and my daughter and her husband were in Kidani. Ended up, it was a closer walk from their room to Jumbo lobby than it was to their own lobby. That's another story for another time when you review Kidani. But here's the magic. So she came out later and she was just all over. She understood. She says, I can't even imagine what you're going through. And we know we're making this worse. And it makes me ill that I can't fix it. But I can't. She said, and I know it won't replace what you're going through now, but I need to do something to make it better. So they started providing me with taxi transfers back and forth to the to the hospital.
Oh.
Back and forth for the next 2 days. There's about 6 transfers, 3 out and 3 back, paid for.
Wow.
Last day, we were transferring again to Universal. And I said, I know this is terrible. This is the day my wife is getting out of the hospital. I said, my kids have got to go over. I need to take my kids over and check them in. My wife's getting out of the hospital. I know this is a crazy ask, but is there any way I could get a transfer from you guys for the taxi from the hospital to Universal, not back to you guys? And she said, consider it done. Bam. And she took, and then came out later and said, I have one last thing for you. Hand me an envelope. And it is a 2-night stay at any of the club level resorts on Disney property for free.
Wow.
To make up
Oh,
for what we lost at the club level. Don't make me cry, Rebecca. You're getting all teared up. Yeah, folks, there's a reason why we love Disney.
Mm-hmm.
They frustrate us. They drop the ball. They make mistakes. We get mad. But more often than not, in my experience over the last 30 years, they found a way to not only make it okay, but to make it better.
Yeah.
And on so many occasions. So good job, Disney. Good job, Ann.
Good job, Ann.
That's right.
Shout out.
Good job to all the cast members. That's who.
Shout out to all the cast members who do that.
This is
are so many.
Absolutely.
Right. So the for making them empowered to do it, and then for the cast members for knowing, for having that that compassion to see a guest and just say, I remember short. I used to work
Got a
at
new
SeaWorld
topic
in Ohio.
for our podcast, but it's a good one.
I used to work at SeaWorld in Ohio, and what I can tell you is the thing I loved the most about my job. I could have worked in any job in that entire park, and the thing I loved was to make people smile. And that is what I think you get at Disney, is those people that are just they just love bringing the joy. You have the people that are just passionate about making somebody smile every day. And I just one day they asked if we were in Animal Kingdom, they asked if we wanted to donate $1 to conservation for a pretzel, and it was like they had a bet going or something. And I said, sure, why not, whatever, and they were like, okay, well, we'd like to give you 3 pretzels for free. It was at a pretzel stand.
Wow.
And
look at that.
It was like, I don't know if the cast members had just asked a bunch of people and they were like annoyed nobody was saying yes or what, but I mean, that was the cheapest pretzel I ever got. So my kids were like, wait, what? We'd never tried the jalapeno cheese stuffed pretzels. Amazing.
Oh my God.
Even better when they're free because you gave $1 to animals. So, but yeah, and you can't expect it. You don't know what's going to come. So don't go down there thinking somebody's going to give you a car when you show up. But when you need it, they come through, Yep.
Absolutely.
So I would say to Maddie, if you're in the middle of a transition and something isn't going right, just let somebody there know before it escalates even worse.
Let someone know kindly.
Yes. Just be nice.
Yes.
Just be nice.
That's all we need to do.
It's contagious.
All right, we need to wrap it up here. Any final tips or anything we want to say to Maddie before we sign out?
Good luck, Maddie. Come back and tell us how it went.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us how it goes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. We'd love to hear how it went.
What are your tips? Yeah, what are your tips?
Yeah, because you will have all of the tips when you're done.
Maddie will be an expert.
You've got ours. But...
Best tip jar ever.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Rebecca, where can somebody find you?
I guess the Nomad Lounge.
There you go.
Over at Twitter as Tequila Becca, and I'm doing a little guest hosting on not a new Twitter account, but I am new to the Twitter account called Cast Compliment. So to Brad, Emily, and Joe's point, if you just want to be inspired and engaged by all of the wonderful things the cast members do, since there is no longer a Cast Compliment official account at Disney World, a friend of mine has picked it up and he boosts those signals. And at Cast Compliment is the handle, and I love boosting that signal because there is so much good stuff on there.
That sounds fantastic. Awesome. Emily, how about you?
You can find me planning my next trip that will hopefully this time not be canceled. I have an obscene amount of Disney planned next year. It's like all of the money that I should be saving for my kids' college education. Just like you're going to find me. I don't know if I told you guys, I booked the Galactic Star Cruiser
with
the DVC opening. Did I? Okay, good.
Rubbed it in.
So yeah, we're going to third voyage. We're going on the third voyage because my
smell a
kids
show.
fortunately have that day off. So yeah, you could try me on social, but I'm going to be at Disney. So, yeah. So Disney lounging, at first comes WDW on Twitter, but mostly Looper Nation Live and Resort Loop Rocketeers, and mostly ignoring my phone because I'll be at Disney. It'll be a data pad.
And working on your lightsaber skills.
Text while you're on the Star Cruiser, they throw you out in space. They just put you in a back locker.
You know, it's been a long 2 years. I'll take it.
There you go. Joe Quattrochi.
Twitter, Instagram at Joe Quat, Facebook at Quat Joe. I'm back on the Facebook. So
Yay.
Back in Looper Nation Live as well.
Yeah,
and you can also find me over at the Disney Dads podcast with those guys over there and the Mickey Dudes podcast. Fantastic.
And, of course, Mr. Brad Coates.
And you can find me Twitter, Instagram as Papa Mouse 1. Maddie, if you had more questions, you could reach me or anybody else at papamouse101@hotmail.com. And hanging out in Looper Nation Live's Facebook page and also on the My DVC Points podcast on the live broadcast on Sundays.
Oh, fantastic. Everybody, I'm Tim Scott. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, by the way, before I finally wrap the show.
Finally.
Not finally. It's been great. I love these shows with guest questions. If you have any questions or you'd like to be on the show with us, let us know over at tim@ResortLoop.com. Be happy to have you on. We don't bite. We might nibble, but we never bite. No. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. If you're thinking of booking a trip, ResortLoopTravel.com. And if you're thinking of moving to the Magic, don't forget our good friend Victor Naraki over at DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com. I'm Tim Scott. Let's just wrap it up. Everybody, this has been the Gateway to the Magic. Take us out.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.